Hey tea heads, this is Don from Mayleaf. In this video I'm going to be introducing you to our newest white tea cake, the follow-up to Flower Crane. It's been a heavy day for me. I've already had a full session with this raw pu'er tea. This is our day drinking diva. If you've not seen that video, you want to check it out, I'll put a link in the description below for you to check it out. I am feeling pretty tea lifted. It's been a couple of hours since I finished that session, but I am still buzzing off it. A very, very potent tea. And now I'm about to dive into a white tea, which is the follow-up to this tea from last year, Flower Crane, for those of you who know. And last year, we basically wanted to source a white tea that was made from the TEAWARE variety, so made from the same tea trees, old tea trees that are normally used to make raw sheng pu'er, and we wanted to make a white tea out of it. This year, we've got this tea here. This is called PEONY CHIRPS. So PEONY CHIRPS, following the same style as Flower Crane, so this paper cut style, which I really, really love. So you can see the two of them together, back to back, if you are so lucky to have both. And the reason I've got Flower Crane here is because I just wanted to compare the difference in the actual leaves. So let's dive in to this baby here. Here we have PEONY CHIRPS. I love that name. PEONY CHIRPS. And I just wanted to show you the difference in color. And I've not actually done this comparison myself because it's the first time I've seen this tea, compared with Flower Crane. You can see Flower Crane is a bit darker than PEONY CHIRPS. And so we had some comments previously that Flower Crane looked like an aged white tea, and Flower Crane was a very fresh tea, so it was a fresh tea, but it was a browned white tea, so it had gone through a little bit more of an extended oxidation period whilst it was withering, and that's just a choice that the producer has to make. With PEONY CHIRPS, it is a little bit more green, as you can see, but you can still see that there's a fair amount of oxidation. And just so that you know, it was a lot greener when we picked it, but the act of steaming it and pressing it into a cake is obviously going to add some moisture and encourage some oxidation. Let's quickly scope PEONY CHIRPS. This is a April 2021 white tea. The cultivar is the TEAWARE variety. The origin, this is from Nanwha, so a very, very famous ancient tea forest on the west of Sichuanbana. Age of tea trees around 150 to 200 year old, so approaching Gushu, Dashu approaching Gushu. Age, very, very high quality material. And I've just been sipping on, as I said, that raw pu'er, half of which comes from Nanwha, same producer. So it's interesting for me because I'm going to get to taste a white tea version, essentially of a tea of, well, not completely because the other tea is a blend, but you know, similar material being used for both teas. So that's very exciting. The picking on this is going to be some buds, as you can see, and up to 3 to 4 leaves, but larger leaves included. So it's a combination. It's sort of a mix between a baimudan and moving into a shomei, if you want to sort of use that terminology. And the elevation on this is around 1,400 meters. Let's dive straight in, shall we? My second session of the day. What a luxury day. I expect that I'm going to be flying for the rest of this day. And I'm going to be editing these videos with no doubt still a lot of tea to drink, because there's certainly plenty of life still in the gaiwan of the previous raw pu'er. I could not get through it all. I couldn't finish a session with it because I was feeling so tea lifted. So there's going to be plenty more tea to drink. It's going to be a pretty crazy editing session, I feel, but I am looking forward to it. So let me put this to the side, and I have another cake here, just so that we can take a look at the cover if we want. All right, now with white teas, with these larger white teas, larger leaf parts of the white tea, I like to just break them up a bit. I think that that contributes to a more consistent overall extraction, because the larger leaves, obviously being tougher, are going to extract slower. And so you want sort of a mix of everything in your brew. I'm brewing, not in a Guy 1, I'm going to be brewing in this blue shell pot. Warm the pot up. And let's dive in. I do love this style. Very, very striking, single color. Really, really like the graphic look of it. And this sort of hybrid of flowers and animals and creating these sort of quite surreal characters as we did with Flower Crane. Let me know your thoughts because we're always interested in your feedback. Let's give the little frog. It's been a while since I've had the frog out to play. So let's give the frog a little refresher. And let's dive in with these leaves. I'm going to do everything here. Ooh, yeah, potent, potent session ahead. Well, I don't know, and it's going to be a little bit harder for me to judge the body sensation on this because obviously I'm still flying from the previous tea I've been drinking. So I'm going to see if I can work it out, but obviously check out the tasting notes on the website and I'll give you a more precise body sensation, or at least my interpretation of how it affected me. Okay. Clear the mind, focus, and let's smell these dry leaves. Oh, so sweet. Oh, so sweet and so creamy. Wow, it reminds me so much, and this is a little bit of a strange thing to say when you're doing a tea tasting, but it reminds me so much of a milk tea, of a very sweetened milk tea. It reminds me of like Hong Kong milk tea. Very creamy, very black tea, sweet black tea, Assamica smell. Oh, super, super sweet. Oh my gosh, it's like we've taken a milky black tea and added tons and tons of honey. But it also has a herbaceous note to it. Again, in the sweet territory, it reminds me of like herbal lozenges, like I'm going to say a brand name, like Ricola herbal lozenges. So yeah, like a little bit of dried mint and mountain herbs, but in a sweet boiled candy. Oh, what a smell. Very different from Flower Crane. Flower Crane was from Jingmai, different area, very renowned for very high, bright aromas, a little bit more floral. And from my recollection of Flower Crane, it was milky and creamy, just like this one, but a little bit lighter, a little bit less deep and dense in terms of its sweetness, and had a little bit more of a sort of, I seem to remember, like resinous, floral, incensey note to it. This is much more just really dessert-like, you know, sweet milk teas. I can imagine it's going to pair extremely well with desserts. I know a lot of people have been waiting for the follow-up to Flower Crane, as we have as well. I can't get over that smell. It's like walking into a Hong Kong milk tea joint. It just has that really, really rich, creamy, sweet smell. Okay, let's have a smell of these wet leaves. No doubt that Nanois fruitiness I'm expecting to come out a little bit here. Here we go. Yeah, oh yeah. What is that? Quite tangy. A tangy sort of aromatic. Ooh, I am getting a little bit of incense, a little bit of that temple incense note, but lighter than Flower Crane. Oh, ooh, yeah, the tropical is coming out. A hint of desiccated coconut. It's not quite buttery, but it's definitely got a little bit more of a, again, dessert-like, baked, biscuity. You know what it is? It's like a crumble. A crumble, and the fruit, is it peaches? It's a little bit more tangy than that. It's a rhubarb. It's a rhubarb crumble combined. So imagine a rhubarb crumble, so that tangy, slightly acidic rhubarb with that buttery, baked, slightly caramelized crumble, and then pair that with a very honeyed, strong Hong Kong milk tea. Making my mouth water. So I'm going to brew this, and I'm going to brew this, you know, I don't know, 30 seconds, maybe even a bit more. The pour on this pot is a bit slow, so I'm going to probably pour off a bit earlier, but it's going to take a while to empty out. Let's give Frog first taste of Peony Chirps. Okay, infusion number 1. So I'm going to start pouring now, because I expect with all of those leaves in there that this is going to take a little while to come out. Color is a sort of light caramel gold. So again, lighter than with flower crane, because this is not browned white tea. Oh, yeah. A little bit of moxa in there as well. And that's more, I would say, when I was talking about incense and temple incense, it's less of the sort of resinous incense that was in flower crane, and more like a moxa smell, so more like burning herbaceous smell. Okay, here we go. Texture is just starting to open up. Texture at the moment is medium to thick. My prediction is it's going to move thicker as we get into those leaves and we extract a little bit more. Probably brewed it a little bit light. Should have waited maybe 10 seconds more. But the taste is still very, very pronounced. Milk, lots of milk, evaporated milk, so very, very concentrated milk, aromatic. I'm still getting those honeys. I'm still getting those herbal lozenges like dried mints and if you've ever had one of those Ricola herbal lozenges, then you'll know what I mean. Sort of a combination of lots of sort of sweet herbal notes. And then, let me see. A little bit of malt. Again, that crumble is there. And that rhubarb is there. Actually, the rhubarb comes with the juiciness. The juiciness is surprisingly a little bit zingier, a little bit tangier. So that rhubarb is coming through. I'm also getting like a rose hip or raspberry aromatic. Rhubarb, rosehip, raspberry on the finish. Evaporated milk, milk teas, crumbles at the beginning, and honeys. With this dried mint herbaceous quality too. Wow. Very comforting, very... I can imagine, again, this being paired well with dessert or just as a dessert by itself. It has a very dessert-like quality to it. And that's what's so fascinating about these older tea trees, these tea trees which are normally used for sheng or raw pu'er. They have it's interesting because you don't necessarily pick it up in the raw pu'er tea, but they have a creaminess or a milkiness that comes through really in a pronounced way when they're made into white teas, but with all of the extra breadth of flavor aromatics that you get from these older tea trees grown in this really, really old terroir. There is minerality to this tea, but it's very rounded. I may be comparing it a little bit too much from the nanwod, which I've just tasted with the raw pu'er, because that was intense in terms of its minerality. But this is much more rounded. It's just so fascinating how the same leaves processed in a different way have such a different experience in the mouth. Remarkable. Okay, let's have a smell of this empty gong dape, even though it's just beginning, so it's probably not completely fair. Oh, well, I say that, but incredibly honeyed, again, milk and honey aromatic there. But let's see how it develops. Let's boost the temperature up a little bit. I'm going to do one more infusion. Feeling it in my body. Again, don't know how much of this is the remnants of the raw pu'er that I had a couple of hours ago, or this one, or the synergy between the two, but wow, this is making me feel a little bit woozy. I doubt it's just this tea, because I would not have thought that it would have hit me that quickly. But it's definitely brought a chilled feeling to my body, a little bit more of a settled, slightly stoned feeling to it, because the last tea I drank was hyper and a lot of fun. This just seems to have settled me a little bit. It's interesting, so fascinating. Be interesting if you try both teas, do them back to back and see if you note the same feeling. But I would warn you, don't do that unless you're really planning to have, block off your calendar so that you can really enjoy that full experience and not feel like you are rushing in between. Although I'm going to be rushing to edit this, affecting my stomach, making me feel like the energy is more down. It's bringing everything down, as opposed to the last tea, which just was very sort of effervescent and rising. So, the color of the liquor, yeah, it's getting darker. This teapot is trying to handle such a hefty amount of leaves in there. Maybe not the wisest choice, because these leaves are, as you could see, big leaves. But you can see it's definitely darker, more of a sort of dusky, deep caramel, sort of pancake syrup color to it. Oh, the smell on this. You just want to stick your nose in it. It's so amazingly sweet milk tea. If you like your milk teas, and you want a tea which is going to not replace it necessarily, but is going to give you that plus more, then this tea is definitely for you. Okay, let's have another taste. Oh yeah. Thicker, more mineral pronounced, more juicy on its finish. And the juiciness is, again, a very sort of starting off honeyed and sweet, and then again moving into those raspberries and rose hips. That's a great little movement in the mouth from sweet, creamy to slightly tangy and very fruity, bright fruity, and well, what's a raspberry aromatic? You know, it's very high aromatic, those raspberry ketones. Oh, I love that mix. I love that journey from sweet to that tangy fruit. Really, really good. Okay, I'm going to roll through a few infusions and I will let you know my interpretation of the body sensation. 5th infusion. Holy moly, what a ride I've been on. I feel so good right now. It's like I got this energy rush, all this boost from the last tea, and this tea has just like it just feels like I don't know, it feels like I've taken uppers and downers. You know, it just feels like, whew, settled me. I feel like still really buzzy and altered and high, but it's a different feeling. It's warm and fuzzy and yeah, just it's putting a grin on my face. Amazing. Again, don't know, like I can't say in isolation what this tea's energy is. Although I know that it is more of a warm, fuzzy stone feeling than a high, rushy, energetic feeling, thankfully, because if I had had 2 back-to-back, it would have been, I think, too much for me. But, you know, obviously I don't know how much of the residual effects of the last tea I'm feeling. But I highly recommend the 2 back-to-back if you really want to have a powerhouse of a day. Oh, and the taste is just delicious. Sometimes you just don't want to talk too much about the taste. It's just a lovely, lovely tea. It's honeyed and sweet, and it's like the best milk tea ever, with little sparkly, fruity notes and aromatics coming through. Incredible. It's thick. It's minerally. It's everything that you would want from a white tea. And I'd be fascinated to see how this ages. Let's have a smell. There's a lot of tea to give to the frog. Let's have a smell of the empty cup. Yeah, I think I talked about pancake syrup before, but it really is like maple syrup. It's pretty much exactly maple syrup, with all of the depth and intricacy that maple syrup has, the sort of slight nuttiness, the slightly resinous note, dark, deep, and super sweet, concentrated sweetness. Maple syrup, straight up maple syrup. The leaves, as you can see, well, maybe you can, maybe you can't. Let me just, I forgot my gong fu stems, so I'll just use my hands here. Beautiful mulch of autumn leaf colored goodness with some nice little buds as well. Wonderful, wonderful tea. Super happy. I am flying right now. With all of these lights on me, I am buzzing, I'm flying. A great, great tea, a worthy follow-up to Flower Crane. This is Peony Chirps. Again, let me know your thoughts if and when you pick it up, and let me know that body sensation. I'm gonna edit this, and then I will tomorrow have one more session and just update the body sensation so that it's just on this tea, but I expect that it's gonna be pretty potent. That's it, tea heads. Check out our other videos, taste our teas wherever you're around the world by browsing mayleaf.com, and come visit us if you're ever in London. Other than that, I am a totally tea-lifted Don from Mayleaf. Thank you for being a part of the revelation of true tea. Stay away from those tea bags. Keep drinking the good stuff and spread the word, because nobody deserves bad tea. Bye.